Hi, Dr. Coons from Endeavor Chiropractic in Springfield, Missouri, and today I'm going to be walking through a patient visit with my wife. I'm going to talk about what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, the decisions that I'm making, why I make them, what I tend to do for most patients, and what I'm doing here in this video too. So for my wife here, she has right-sided SI joint pain. SI stands for sacroiliac joint, so your sacrum is the middle bone of your hips, and then your iliums are kind of the outside bones of the hip and pelvis area where your femurs attach into. So her sacrum is kind of deviated at its tip, kind of towards where most people would consider it the tailbone. With her laying on the right side, it's towards the floor, so it's deviated to the right. So I'm going to adjust so that I put my hand on the bottom side of her sacrum there, and then I'm going to be pushing it from right to left, or kind of as I adjusted there, towards myself. And then after I adjust, I have her go face down again, and then I'm going to double check her hips here, just to make sure everything moved the way that I want her hips to be moving. Her sacrum felt good there, but then her iliums, her right-sided ilium was still a little bit stuck, and it felt like it was more her ilium than her sacrum on that SI joint. And it felt like her right ilium was sitting high, so I'm going to change the camera angle here, have her lay with her right side up, and then I'm going to be taking a little bit of a different position with my hand, and then pushing her ilium in a way, or her hip bone in a way that moves it from being stuck kind of high to being more in a neutral position. So I set up on her like this. I'm going to traction her shoulder up so we can get a good stretch, and then I push it, her hip down towards her feet there. And it felt like it moved really well, and so I move on to her thoracics. She typically doesn't have any lumbar issues. For most patients, I check and double check a lot of stuff, especially the first time I work with someone, but I've been working on my wife for a few years now, so I tend to know what works and what it feels like when I adjust her. So I feel pretty confident that there's nothing in her lumbars, and so there we're working on her T11 area. We got that one to move really well in the first one. This one's her T6, and then I start moving up and start feeling around with my fingers, and I found something on T2. Her T11 and T6 were mostly stuck kind of posteriorly or towards her back, just straight back, and then her T2 is kind of stuck more in rotation, and it's rotated posteriorly on the right side, so I set up on the right side of her upper back there, put my hand on her head and hand on her T2, and then I push on her T2. I stabilize her head just so that I can get a good stretch through that area, so that, because if I push on somebody's upper back without stabilizing their head, it can move too much in their neck, and sometimes it'll not adjust very well, or not very easily, so it takes a little bit more force to get it to move. And then here, on these last couple things that I've been doing, I just go back through on pretty much everybody and touch up their ribs after I adjust their thoracics. I don't think it's 100% necessary to do this, but I found a lot of benefit from what patients report to me, feeling a little bit more loose, feeling like a little bit easier to breathe. It's just overall satisfaction. So what I'm doing there is I put a thumb down on the rib that feels like it's not moving, and then use my other hand to push my thumb on that one rib that I want to work on. And then I usually start from the bottom and work my way up on both sides. And then after I work on the ribs, I have her lay on her back to check her neck. My wife tends to have most of the pain in her neck tends to be in her upper cervicals, specifically her C1 most of the time. But here I find something on the on her right side, around like C6, C7, and then one in the middle cervicals on the left, around C4. Those are both stuck in rotation, with the rotation kind of rotated posteriorly on both of those, on the side that I adjusted. And then on her C1, she has anterior rotation, so I'll have her change positions here and then use the headpiece of the table. So the headpiece has a drop on it. I pop it up and down a couple times, set it in a good position for her head there. Technically, I think it should have been a little bit higher on the headpiece because her head is a little bit at an angle yet with her neck. But then I'll put my thumb on her C1, kind of on the front side of C1, and then I use my other hand to put on top of my thumb so that I can get a good angle and push it towards the floor, but also from anterior to posterior. Because if I was to adjust her laying on her back there, I'd just push it more forward, and it's stuck forward. And then I'm rechecking just to make sure it's all moving better. And then kind of talk to her about how it's all feeling, how it's all moving, double checking a few things. And then typically I have people stand up and move around and test things out, see if there's anything that's still bothering them, see if there's anything still catching. If you need me to double check an area, readdress something that I adjusted, see if there's a little bit left in there. But I cut that out of the video because she didn't need anything else. But yeah, so that's kind of typically how I do things. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can find our number at endeavorchiropracticclinic.com. Thank you.